Okay.
And we do that so we can send everyone the recording after the fact. So appreciate you reminding me, Aaron. But welcome everyone to a best practices about page optimization. This is part of our 2022 best practices series where we tackle a bunch of different topics related to marketing and really keep you up to date on the best practices. And this quarter, we're going to be focused on search engine optimization. I'm Spencer Bard. I'm our client experience specialist here at Keystone Click, and I'll let Erin introduce herself as well.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Erin Jordan. I'm an assistant account coordinator here, assistant account manager at Keystone Click here. And yeah, we're really excited to talk to you today about page optimization.
Definitely, and a little bit about Keystone Click before we get into the nitty gritty. We are a digital marketing firm located in the third ward of Milwaukee in the Marshall Building, right across from the public market. So if you're ever in town, we highly encourage that. But we focus on creating research-driven marketing strategies that grow brand awareness, drive conversions, really just to achieve our clients' goals. So without further ado, let's get into our agenda. And any webinars with me, I like to include some memes. So getting a bit into the topic on the right, you got to set your website up with SEO best practices, or else you're going to be living very dangerously. So we're going to get started with some high level information on keyword research, get into the nitty gritty of on-page SEO, what it is, why it's important, cover some on-page SEO tactics that you can implement on your own website to boost your SEO and achieve those higher rankings. Then get into a bit about homepage optimization. How can you make sure that that's properly optimized so you're getting more traffic and keeping more people on your website? Last but not least, how you can optimize that recurring content you post on your site and a bit about what that is as well. So I will be handing it off to Erin to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So first thing we're going to do is talk a little bit about keyword research. And like Spencer said, this is just a high level overview of keyword research, but you really can't talk about optimizing pages and SEO without talking about keywords. So really what I have here just outlined is some initial first steps for you that's really easy to just get the lay of the land in terms of keywords. And really keywords and key phrases are just words that you'd type into Google, a digital marketing agency, Milwaukee, that's a keyword that absolutely speaks to who Keystone Click is. And so we want to be sure that our content, both on the front end and the back end, really highlight that. And it's words that search engines like Google, Google's the biggest one out there, can easily recognize that your website is related to that term. So really you want to start out on Google and a couple things you want to look at. So type in a word or phrase that you think relates to your business. You'll look at kind of the number of results. That gives you an idea of how many other people are trying to show up for that word. And it's also a good idea when you're first compiling that list of keywords that you may want to rank for in the future to look at, the people also ask and the searches are related to. Those are boxes in Google that are kind of automatic, but they give you a clue right off the bat as to what related searches people are looking for. And then what you'll go and do is you'll plug those words and phrases into some keyword research tools, and that'll give you some more defined data. And from there, you can kind of narrow down and look at, which ones you're going to start optimizing. And we also have competitors' use of keywords. That's more in the realm of the keyword research tools. They'll let you look at what your competitors are doing.
Sure. And one thing that I should mention is if you do have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. And we'll make sure we get to them. So hate to slow your roll there, Erin. I could tell you're getting on a roll, but we'll let you keep going here.
No, absolutely. Great point, Spencer. And if we don't get to them right away, we absolutely will talk about them right at the end. So Yeah, and let's get into a little bit, once you've done your initial keyword research there, we're talking today specifically about on-page SEO. And really, if you're not familiar with SEO, SEO is search engine optimization. And on-page SEO really speaks to the process of optimizing pages and page elements to do two things. One, improve search rankings, and two, the user experience. So we're going to get into first, talking about improving search rankings. And again, that's where your website or your blog on your website shows up when people search on Google. And then Spencer will take it away and talk a little bit more about the overall user experience on your website and how best to evaluate and properly optimize that.
For sure.
Fact or myth. So this is just keeping you on your toes, throwing in a little bit of a game here. Real quick, if you want to hit in the chat whether you think it's a fact or myth that you should only use one H1 tag per page for your website content. We'll give everyone like 15, 20 seconds. Chat what you think.
All right.
Okie doke. Okay.
Moving on.
Moving on. It is, in fact, a fact. And it brings us to talking about H tags. So H tags are one of the many on-page SEO tactics that we're going to be talking about today. H1 tags, your H1, you only want to use one per page. And really, it should be your page title, letting people know that that's the page you're on. You want to make sure to include your keyword or key phrase where it makes sense in your H1 tag. And your H1 tag overall should be fairly short because it is just that descriptive, this is what the page is. But other H tags shouldn't be ignored when talking about overall SEO efforts. Really, your H2, H3, and so on. Let your readers know what each section's about, and they are also indicators for search engines to see, your keyword or key phrase again. And, these H2, H3s, they're your header tags, right? So they're section headers that really do encourage you to improve a little bit of the structure of your content. So that way it's easier for your audience to read and digest. Next, we're talking about meta descriptions. And, I think sometimes people get a little bit confused about what meta descriptions are. So they don't appear anywhere on your actual page on your website. But where it does appear is that little snippet in the beginning on Google talking about, what that page is about. So you want to make sure that where that snippet is, you've got a 1 to 2 sentence that's really clear as to what the blog or permanent page is talking about. And this is another great place for your single keyword or key phrase that you're specifically focusing on for that page, included in your meta description as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's super important just because imagine a lot of websites that are pages, they'll use the first couple sentences as their meta description. And you don't want to use that because someone who's searching for something in search engines, they'll read those meta descriptions to see if your blog or page is talking about content related to what they want to consume. So really making sure that your meta description relates to the content on the page, includes that keyword as well, is extremely important just for getting that click into your website.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point too, Spencer, is like the goal of improving where you rank is encouraging more visitors to your website. And that's a goal for SEO as a whole as well, right? Because people arriving to your website and clicking through your website lead down more and encourage the overall growth of your business. So up next, we've got images. And this image I have on the right here is something that isn't the right format for where they've placed the text. So you want to really be intentional about the images that you choose, but choosing the right format for your image, scaling it for SEO, reducing image size, and that really comes into play in terms of ensuring a fast site speed. So when people come to your site, it doesn't take forever to load this big image. It's properly optimized, but still really stands out. A couple other SEO tactics from an image standpoint include where you have an image caption. Again, just giving another sentence or two that definitely your keyword or key phrase can appear in there. But alt text, alternative text is also really important, more from an accessibility standpoint for screen readers to describe the image to people who are visually impaired.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing to think about when it comes to site speed, load speed is videos as well. I know this is about images here, but for videos, you want to make sure you're not uploading videos because those are going to take up lots of size on your site, lots of data, and it's going to increase that load time. So in that case, we encourage just embedding videos from YouTube or Vimeo because that doesn't take up space on your site and it won't affect the load speed.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last tactic here we're talking about is URL slug. So actually, a place for keywords to live as well is in the URL itself. And the slug is a part of the URL that identifies or explains the page in a way that's easy to read. So typically what'll happen in the case of, say, a blog, for example, initially your website builder or platform will automatically take the whole page title and put that as your slug. However, you can edit your slug and you want to take out, any thes, ands, you want the slug to be concise, but you also want to make sure that, again, it's hitting on that one keyword or key phrase that you're really focusing on for that blog or page, etc. So like I said, include your keyword in the URL. Overall, keep your URL slug short, descriptive, and again, user-friendly. Make it make sense. And use only lowercase letters just for simplicity of typing it in the future if that's something you need.
Definitely. Think I'm getting past over here. Thank you, Erin. So let's get into a bit about that user experience, as Erin mentioned before. So when a visitor arrives on your site, they need to know where to go next. You really want to get that first click. So everything, what we say is what users see above the fold is everything. They need to know where they should go next. And your navigation is what's going to lead them to that next area. So it needs to be intuitive, and they need to be able to find what they're looking for quickly and easily. If users aren't finding what they want on your site right away or aren't able to take the next steps towards getting to where they want instantly, they're just going to leave your site and go to the next option. It's as simple as that. Your navigation needs to be easy to use, and getting that first click is key. So ensuring that you've got attractive images in your navigation. It could be colors, it could be fonts or other visual effects. Anything you can do to encourage them to take that next step is going to be key, and compared to them just stopping at the homepage and bouncing out. You want them to continue along that journey on your website. So going from your homepage maybe to resources, and then they click on a blog, just really encouraging them with intuitive navigational system to take that next step so you can get that first click. Moving on to your homepage. So In order to optimize your homepage to be user-friendly and also to encourage that next click, we like to do what we call a 3-step billboard test here at Keystone Click. And this is kind of how we gauge the effectiveness of a homepage. So, studies have shown, as I kind of alluded to on the last slide, that oftentimes when a user visits a site, you only have several seconds to grab their attention, or as I mentioned before, they'll just go to a different site. So these 3 things are paramount to add onto your homepage. You need to make it clear what you offer. A visitor is going to be on your site because it relates to what they need in terms of offering. So make it clear what you offer right away on your homepage. Then you need to establish your credibility, and that could be through testimonials. It could be through statistics like we have down below. It could be through awards, distinctions, publications, things of that nature. Just anything you can do to show that you're a legitimate source, you're the expert. People should trust your expertise. That's something that also needs to be identified on that homepage. And last but not least, is that call to action obvious? And that goes into getting that first click. You can take 3 different call to actions from our homepage. So we've got services, resources, and then the top right, contact. You really want to make sure that you've got obvious call to actions, different places they can click to get where they need throughout your homepage, or else they're not going to take that next step and you're not going to keep people on your site and drive more traffic. So I definitely encourage you to take a look at your own site from that perspective. Maybe there's some super simple things you could change or some simple additions you can make to show your credibility. It could be as simple as adding a testimonial to your homepage slider, or making your call to action a different color, being a bit more clear with the verbiage in the call to action. But to encourage you to take a look at your site and your homepage and try to run this test and see if it passes.
Yeah. And one other thing too, Spencer, I'll jump in real quick,
Yeah.
is you don't just want to look at it from your perspective. You want to look at it from the perspective of your target audience coming to your site, and really take a step back and think, well, in their shoes, in their mind, why are they coming here? And do I answer that question for them? And is it clear to me as an average user exactly what this site does? So I think that's really important as well, to think about the user intent.
Yeah, definitely important to put yourself in your client's shoes in any aspect of marketing. That's a really good point. Mm-hmm. So now we're done talking about homepage. Let's get into some recurring content. So recurring content is just content that's posted on a regular schedule, defined using a defined structure. So you got blogs, articles, news releases, any case studies you have, podcasts, or as well, webinars and events. So that's kind of this loose definition. We'll get into some of the nitty gritty about how you can optimize your recurring content now. So let's say you're choosing a blog. When you're publishing or writing a blog, you want to think of topics that your target audience are going to be searching for. So what are those keywords and key phrases that you would anticipate one of your ideal customers typing in? So one good way we like to do this, or to think of topics, ideas for blogs, is actually when you're on client calls, when you're on calls with prospective clients or current customers, write down the questions they ask you. Those are the questions that people in your target audience who haven't quite heard of you yet are typing into those search queries, because they do want to know the same questions. So that's a great way to stock some ideas for keywords, key phrases, or blog titles. Another thing that's super important when it comes to your recurring content, whether it be a blog or a case study, is make it easy to read. And that really gets into writing conversationally. And I know that writing can be difficult. Blogging, anything can be difficult to get started on. And it can be difficult to write conversationally because everything, when you're trying to relay information, can kind of come robotic. One thing that I have found that really works is to just record yourself talking. There are a lot of talking about the topic. And a lot of times you can go back using some services, transcription services, and have at least some outlines for how you talk about certain things, and you can go back and edit. that'll just give you a really good idea of how you can write conversationally while using your tone. So next is you really want to evaluate your title strength. So this gets back into, is this title something that my audience cares about? Is this something that they might be curious about and they might enter into Google or other search engines? Once again, try to keep it short, concise, but to the point, ensuring that it is about, and also making sure that the title is in relation to the content of the rest of the content itself. So for blogs and articles, always look for a word count above 1,000 words. And the reason why this is the recommendation, we typically would like to say shoot for above 1,000, but at the very least get there. Google will analyze your page, and if there's not enough content there, they don't determine it to be a viable option for providing the correct and valid information to the user, the person who typed that question into the search query. So once Google is able to see that you've got enough content on your page, they'll be more likely to rank it higher and accredited it as being a source for to answer that question or to provide the proper information. Staying consistent in your schedule. This is one of the toughest things a lot of business owners and marketers have trouble with when it comes to posting recurring content, but it is crucial because let's say you've got recurring people who are coming to your site for the blogs and they get to the point where they know a blog's going to be posted every week, or you've got an event happening every week. If your events or blogs are more sporadic, you'll have 3 in 1 week and then none for 2 months. It can really decrease the amount of return visitors that you're getting coming back to your site because they won't know how often you're posting. And last but not least, as Aaron talked about with all those on-page SEO tactics, make sure they're optimized. Do your keyword research in advance. Optimize your heading tags. Make sure your title is strong. Use your meta description to give people who come to your, who see your result on Google, an idea of what your post is about, and really just ensure that every part of the page is optimized. And like Aaron said, put yourself in your customer's shoes. Click on your page, see how the experience is. Is it a positive experience? Is the text broken up? Is it easily readable? Those are just some great questions you can ask yourself to really put yourself in your customer's shoes to ensure that your site's being user-friendly and all of your recurring content is properly optimized. Moving on. All right. We kind of burned through that. I'm sure Aaron could talk about SEO all day, but as we mentioned before, we only got you guys for 30 minutes. So a quick summary. The right picture is not actually how SEO is done. So hope we kind of covered that earlier. There's no need to bow down to Google, just have to use that on-page optimization. So know what keywords you want to rank for. That gets back into knowing those kinds of questions your target audience could be entering. Use some of those online tools, which I'm sure that'll be a question we're asked, what are those tools? But so you want to be sure to conduct your keyword research on an ongoing basis. Keywords change. People could be searching for different things by going month by month. Trends change. Your target audience could be searching for different search terms, key phrases. So always try to keep tabs on what keywords are hot and what keywords you can be ranking for. Use those on-page tactics that Aaron got into to maximize the optimization of your website's content, including your recurring content. So as well as your permanent pages, your services, your offerings, make sure those pages are properly optimized, but also your recurring content. So blogs, events, case studies, everything needs to use those same on-page SEO tactics that Aaron covered. Optimize your user experience in terms of your homepage. Run that 3-step billboard test on your site. Ask yourself, is it clear what you do? Does my credibility show through? Is it clear that I'm the expert? Is my web homepage showing that? And then think about what is the next step you want that user to take? And then make sure your call to action corresponds to that. You don't want to have your call to action correspond to a step that you don't want your user to take. So make sure it's clear and obvious. you know what the next step your users should be taking once they join the site, once they enter the site, and make it obvious that that is their next step. And last but not least, recurring content will boost your site's SEO over time. You know, they say content is king. So as long as the more content you post, the more ways people can be entering your site, the more pages Google will be ranking. So stick to your schedule, optimize those pieces of recurring content, and really just make sure that you're building that solid content base over time, and your SEO will improve. Moving on to what's next in our best practice webinar series. So as I mentioned, this quarter, we are focusing on the best practices of SEO. The next webinar that we'll be focusing on is going to be how you can build credibility with search engines. What are some of those tactics? You know, Google and other search engines want to rank sites that they deem credible and expert, and have expertise. So we'll go over some tactics that you can use to build that credibility with those search engines. The last webinar in this mini series is going to be getting to the technical side of SEO. People a lot of business owner marketers get scared when they hear the word technical SEO because they think it's super techy. You need code. You'll learn that that's not the case, and it's something super simple you can do to boost your SEO. So we'll go through some tactics with that. And then last but not least is our strategic storytelling workshop on July 15th, which I will pass over to Erin to go in depth a bit about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Spencer. So our strategic storytelling workshop, in addition to kind of these 30-minute webinars that really focus on SEO, we're also offering an in-person workshop that really focuses on the storytelling aspect of creating content for your business and specifically for your website as well. So this workshop, we're going to work through developing a value proposition that connects and engages your specific audience, talking through some storytelling components that then express that unique value proposition. And then we're going to go through an exercise to develop a couple different elevator pitches that really tell your story and are an easy way for you to go forth and drive new business. And I think Spencer just added the link that we've got up on the screen in the chat as well. So we've got a page kind of letting you know more about the workshop and some additional details, and we encourage you to go check that out. But this is something that we offer to clients as well, and there's a lot of value that they've felt they've gotten out of it, really having a clear, concise story that tells the story of their business.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add to that is, like, we have facts tell, stories sell up there, and we're not kidding. A lot business professionals and marketers, I'm going to say this again, are always trying to find better ways to connect and showcase what differentiates themselves, what makes their business unique, what's their unique value proposition. And being effective in the way you showcase your differentiators can be the difference of them, your ideal customer, going with a different client or company versus yours. So definitely a worthwhile investment. It's only $99 is the investment. As Erin mentioned, I threw the link in the chat if you'd like to learn a bit more and check it out. But for us, that is all we have for you today. Feel free to throw any questions in the chat, or if you don't want to do that, feel free to email either Erin Jordan or myself. Our emails are there. And we will be sending out this recording to everyone who registered, so you can expect that in your inbox tomorrow morning. And if any questions come back upon review, feel free to reach out. And yeah, that is all we have for you today. One question that I'm sure everyone is wondering, however, is, Erin Jordan, what are some tools that people can use to get started in keyword research?
Yeah, invoking my full name there, Spencer.
Yeah, I know. I said your email and then I just had to keep going.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we do get this question a lot. Again, as crazy as it sounds, because the whole goal is to get started on Google, like Google is a keyword research tool. So I definitely encourage you to look there But for some of those additional tools I was speaking to, we really, we like SEMrush, Moz, Keyword Explorer, SpyFu also has some keyword options. You're really looking at, places that compile that search data over time. Like Spencer was saying, the specific data on keywords will change over time depending on how often people are searching for that. So you just want to keep an eye on that. But those are a couple of tools that we recommend. And then if you get overwhelmed, because certainly that opens up a whole lot of new doors for SEO, we're happy to help where we can.
Yeah, and Erin Jordan is our resident SEO expert, so she'd definitely be the one to reach out to. Also, another fun tool that I just thought of is Google Trends. If you type that in, you'll have the option to go to type in any different search term. And what it'll do is it will show the frequency on a yearly basis, kind of how it dips and goes up and down over the year. So if I searched in digital marketing, it would show me the frequency or traffic or how much that search term is actually being searched for on Google, as well as a state by state basis, which states are looking it up the most. So that's another fun tool to give you some high level stuff. Got another question. What source of information are you using that says meta description are supposed to be 120 to 150? Sources like SEO Yoast and more suggest 155 to 160. What we say that for is because a lot of times if you do start to reach those higher levels, it will cut off your meta description. And we always like to stay on the edge on the air of conciseness, especially in terms of being able to let your audience know or let a potential visitor know exactly what your page is about. So the less reading they have to do while you can get your point across, we always think that's positive.
Yeah, and even Yoast recommends actually less than 155 characters in your meta description. And again, it's that point of you don't necessarily want to be cut off. You want to make sure that your key point, key phrase is right at the top in that search query. So, but definitely, again, like someone said, the game's all about conciseness, but making sure that your keyword, key phrase has been organically incorporated into that sentence or two.
Definitely. All right. Well, we'll stick around for a couple more minutes in case any last questions pop on, but we definitely appreciate you guys joining us today. And this recording will be in your inbox tomorrow, as I mentioned. And yeah, if you do have any other questions, feel free to reach out anytime.